Hello everyone, welcome to yet another exciting episode of The Headhunter with me, Laban Cliff, coming to you from Koech 9 West. Always a pleasure to bring this program to you, and thank you again for your great feedback that we continue to receive. And we're honored and glad to actually even have our partners and our previous guests and panelists just tuned in every evening to actually get this program and also on our online platforms. I said yes, we've been having an exciting episode, and of course, more than that, it's really how to get you to the headhunters list. And speaking from the youth, speaking from the elderly, and also speaking from those of us who would really like to get ahead. And today we'll be focusing on women who are particularly in the sciences, who maybe have thought that they want to just stick into one side, but they also want to rise into leadership and they want to really go into it. And one lady whose career has been very inspiring from where she started and from where she is right now at the top of her game is one Koech. Take a look at her profile. Quite exciting, you admit, right? Well, she's no else other than the headhunter. Madam Koech is the country president at Schneider Electric in East Africa. Wow, quite a title there. So, how is that, Madam President? You rose all the way to becoming one of the most sought after women engineers and now corporate leader at the top of the game in 2022. Thank you for being with us. Dr. Saboti Jani, Carol.
Thanks a lot, Laban, for inviting me to this show. I'm very honored. I always say that my journey is unconventional. I graduated out of engineering school, found myself in an audit firm, spent the first 7 years of my career in finance, moved into a commercial role, which was a big risk, and that really then became, I would say, the start of my second half of career. That has really been what propelled me to the top.
More often than not, it's if you're an engineer, you know, it's cut out that you're going to be an engineer and be part somewhere and locked up in that profession all across. If you look at your profile, and of course we've shared that with our viewers, it's from an audit firm, it's from finance, it's to sales, it's now into a totally different field. So just delve a bit deeper into kind of what, first of all, propelled you, and what did you learn in all those dockets you went into?
You know, so let's say when you graduate from the university, everybody's looking for a job. I was very lucky to not tarmac, if you like, and found many options. So, so when I found myself at the audit firm, KPMG, I was working with fresh graduates, mostly from the business degrees. I had come with an engineering background, and I felt a little bit lost, but it was a risk. And I quickly discovered, okay, this is not my thing. Let me see what else is out there. So it was still in that. So I actually stayed at KPMG only for 6 months and found myself in the management trainee program at Unilever, which for me was really, I would say, a good start into an amazing corporate that helped me build my skills. But because I already had this finance, I would say, tag, when I went to Unilever, I had an amazing manager who said, okay, you already have an affinity for finance, so we might as well make you one. And that's really how I ended up building a career in the finance space. So of course I did not have any finance qualification, so I had to quickly do that. And I remember I did my ACCA qualification in a record 4 sittings. And at that time, I actually was also nurturing my young family. Yeah. I remember when I was doing some of the exams, I had a very small baby, and you know, it was tough, but also challenging. And so after qualifying, then I felt that I belonged and continued to build my career in that space. And then down the road, I started to feel that probably I wasn't realizing my full potential. This became very clear when I went back to do my MBA. I was doing that at Strathmore, and I was in this class, you know, everybody discussing strategy, and I was thinking, I think there's more out there. So that was like a turning point, and I decided, okay, maybe it's a good idea to think about something else. So I took a risk. Luckily, the employer I was working for then trusted me, and I had people who trusted that I could actually do well in a completely new function, and moved into a sales role. I remember the first year I sold nothing. It was a difficult job, but it took about, I would say, 2 years to start realizing some results, and they say the rest is just history.
Wow. Carol, you're a mom at 19. You have this push. You're doing something totally different. You mentioned about SCCA really, and it's not always a cup of tea for everyone. What was the push? What was that push factor? If you just look back, like what was that driving you? Is it all these multinationals you worked with? Maybe you had a good boss, you had a good manager, for instance. Is it the environment you're in? Is it maybe your background that propelled you this far?
I think probably there's something called an innate ambition. I've always just wanted to do the best that I can be.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that there are any limitations. So I just push myself. And to be honest, after doing engineering, and with all due respect to the accountants, SCCA was really not as much of a challenge. I mean, had been through some more difficult experiences
Modules,
before.
calculus,
Yes.
mathematical
Yes.
impressions. Okay.
Oh, that's I wouldn't say it was a walk
Yeah.
in the park,
Yeah.
but it was a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yes. Actually, sometimes they say it's good to blow your trumpet, but in those in the year that I did the SCCAs, I think I came top of the country in 3 papers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And you not even had any background in accounting?
No.
You're totally different?
No, and I did not go to any class. I was reading by myself.
There's a bit about open-mindedness there, because I think students right now will just say, no, this is my profession, this is where I'm stuck into. I don't know what would be your advice for that. You've managed to just make sure that taking risks, I think that's what
Yes.
I'm leading to, how you've managed to take risks across onto that, in different professions as well.
The thing for me is, when you take a risk and you fail, you'll always have a fallback.
Yeah.
You can always go back to what you've been doing. So it's really just knowing that if you plunge yourself into that space, you could have 2 outcomes. You could be successful, or you could fail and, take the next action. So for me, like I said, when I moved to sales, the first year it was nothing. I mean, it's a lot of effort with no results. But, you push on. And sometimes these risks take time to pay off. But it's only until you take them that they can, then start to show some results. Yeah.
Let's talk about your current work. Country President, Schneider Electric in East Africa. I mean, anyone would love to have such a title. How does it make you feel?
The title is amazing. The job is hard. Yes,
Yeah.
it's juggling so many balls.
Yes.
Schneider Electric in East Africa is a fairly young company. So Schneider Electric acquired a local company 7 years ago. It was called Power Techniques, and Power Techniques had been a Schneider Electric partner for a long time, for more than 30 years. And so, of course, for me, when Schneider Electric approached me to join them, they made it clear to me that, this is a new acquisition. And I quickly saw an opportunity to be a part of a great story, because it's almost like a startup from Schneider Electric terms. So I took the job about 4 years ago, moved into Schneider. I was eyeing the top seat. And so in 2 years, that happened. And so I'm actually going to be 2 years old in my country president role in August, at the end of August.
Now, hold up. First of all, you come into Schneider, you eyeing the top seat.
Yes.
How did that not make you uncomfortable, or was it to make you a favorite of your boss? Or because it's always a balance, because there's some leaders, I would say, if they know you're a threat to them, they try and hold up or maybe curtail your efforts to get to the top. How did you wiggle your way out of it?
So Schneider Electric is driving a very sustainable strategy, and so we consider ourselves as the most local of global companies. So, of course, knowing this, it was very clear that they were going to have a local person as a leader. This strategy was happening. And so my boss then was an expatriate, and obviously he was on a certain time, and his term was going to end. So if they were going to be taking locals, then who would be better placed than myself?
So talk about what? Being strategic, being smart?
Yes.
What do you say? What does that quality feel
It's
like?
really just
Yeah.
identifying the opportunity and positioning yourself. And they usually say, luck looks like preparation meeting the opportunity, right? And so it's really preparing yourself for the luck to happen. Yeah. And I realized, by the way, I was headhunted into Schneider. So just for you to know that.
Yes,
And I remember when we were having discussions, one of the fascinating comments the HR director then mentioned was, your profile is unique. How do you have all this? How do you have this finance experience, this sales experience? And obviously also I had an international experience. I had been working across Sub-Saharan Africa. And I need to tell you about that experience of working in Sub-Saharan Africa in a STEM field as a woman. But let's just come back to the Schneider story first. And so the preparation and knowing that this position would open up just made that even when the experiences were not so great, I had to be patient and go through the pain knowing that something would come.
We actually had a guest on the Headhunter actually last week, Madam Catherine Musakani. She said leadership is not given, it's taken.
Yes.
I feel that just really happened in that whole process of that 2 years of you waiting for your position.
Yes, but I was busy doing something else and also just consolidating my preparation. To be honest, when I was appointed on the role, first of all, I was very scared. This was a job I had never done before. This was my first real business leadership role. But I was like, okay, all these people believe I can do it. How is it that it's only myself who doesn't? So I said, okay, let's step into it and get it done.
Cannot wait to come after the break. You talk to us now. How do you get hunted? I'm not sure you're going to apply for any other job. Maybe you only applied for one job, for instance, in your graduate trainee. So we'll come back with Carol and just talk to us as well, and especially to the young ladies who are in the STEM fields as well. I have a friend actually who was dying to be employed by Schneider Electric. I mean, always applied. So I'll ask Carol, how do you really even cut your teeth to be one of those future employees of such a multinational. Stay tuned to the Headhunter. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to the Headhunter with me, Laban Cliff, coming to you from Koech 9 West. Well, it's always a pleasure to get unique profiles and people really gone out of their ways to actually stay ahead in their careers. And what an interesting guest to actually have, who's an engineer who's turned into a corporate executive and has had quite an interesting journey. If you missed the first half of the program, first bit of the show today, don't worry. We will give you the lessons of how to really stay ahead. Madam Carol Koech is still with us. Thank you very much again for your time. So we've spoken about your journey, how you actually got. I think the only job you applied for maybe is a KPMG job, just as a graduate trainee, right?
I would say the first
two, KPMG Unilever,
the KPMG role, Unilever role. Of course, Unilever was a very intense interview process, similar to KPMG. The next other roles I took were more really supported by contacts, but I still went through interview processes, as you can imagine. But then it's always been, jobs come to me.
I had a good pleasure of working with you at General Electric Africa in my heydays, and I cannot have imagined that your career will actually spiral to becoming this big, I'll say. And what is even interesting is even the positive feedback you actually get from your colleagues or from your people who worked around you. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's look at the lessons learned. Let's look at your inspiration, your leadership lessons, and what you'd actually give advice, especially guidance to the young women who really want to cut their teeth in the corporate world.
We could sit here the whole day and talk about lessons, but I'm going to share just a few that have been, for me, stood out as things to think about when you're building your career. I think the first for me is really keeping an open mind. Sometimes, you could be thinking that your career will take a certain path, but somehow the world conspires to take you in a different path. And you could miss the opportunity if you're closed, if you're saying, okay, I just want to be in this line. And, I was telling you earlier, I'm reading this interesting book, that talks about range, how generalists thrive in a specialized world. And sometimes we think you map out a path and you want to take that path, but there could be so many obstacles. But if you keep an open mind, you could go around those obstacles and still end up in the same direction.
You feel like in this current people like work more siloed? You just want to feel like, you want to specialize, yes? We don't want to take those risks or be out in different spaces, professions. That's limiting.
It really is different for everyone.
Yeah.
For some people, they do very well going deep. For other people, they are not necessarily made up to go like that. So you try to go deep and you become very frustrated. So knowing what is suitable for your own person is really what is important. Then you can decide how open you keep yourself and what options you allow yourself. But you can only be open-minded if you're willing to take risks, because many people are not willing. They look at all the years they've put in a certain area and they're like, okay, I'm going to lose all that. But what I've learned is that over the years, every experience that you have will consolidate. And in every experience you have as well, you pick lessons that are applicable to the next and the next. And those lessons, nobody takes it away from you, regardless of what you are doing, whether it was a certain area or a different area. Yeah.
And of course, to any, from your colleagues, first the young folks. I think for me, I want to really make sure we don't miss out on this young girl, the young Carol, for instance, confused about, where do I go? I finished my engineering course and I'm like, where do I actually put my fit in? What would you advise them?
I tell people, take the opportunity that comes to you. It doesn't necessarily have to be exactly what you studied for. Because what I've seen in careers across, a few people will stick to what they studied for. Many people will find themselves in adjacencies or sometimes in completely different spaces. So just keep yourself out there and allow yourself to learn. And we know that in many careers, people change jobs. You could be working in a bank, but from one bank to another, there are different, nuances. You could move. I know for your case, Laban, you've moved from different locations.
Yes,
even though you've
taking
been,
risks.
you've been mostly in the, I would say, communications, media, but it's different experiences, and I'm sure it's a learning process.
True.
So being open to learn allows you to grow.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's look at what you'd look for your next hire or even your team. And here we're talking about headhunting. And what do you look out for the great talent? And I know Schneider is an employer of choice globally. So it will be interesting to get from the president.
Laban, when I took the president role, I needed to build a team. Yes. And so I'd say most of last year, I was actually a talent acquisition specialist and spent so much time looking for talent. And for me, when I sit, behind the table, trying to find who to hire, I would always look for a fit. I would look for passion. I'd look for attitude. I think those for me are so critical that you can have a very colorful CV, but if I don't see passion, if I don't see a great attitude, an attitude to learn, and that you can demonstrate, I would really need to see that. So I have an eye for talent, and the people I've hired can tell you. So
passion and attitude.
Yes.
So you're not even looking at, come on, I went and added my MBA. Hello, Carol. I spent millions of shillings to, go in and invest in an MBA, SCCA, for instance, to get spotted by Schneider. And for you, that doesn't really rank top 2.
So, that will help the team that's shortlisting to filter, right?
And that's it.
And by the time you come to me to select, everybody will have all that.
Yeah.
So then what will differentiate you from the next guy who has the same profile?
Yeah. So, wow. So what do you advise about the people who would actually focus a lot on their look in terms of educational background and really heavily focus on that and forget what I would call, soft skills?
I think education is very important. I value education as well, but I say it's not enough. You have to build a holistic picture. Soft skill, how you interact with people, is so important, because when you bring yourself to the workplace, your certificates will just open the door for you, but how you bring yourself and interact with others will determine, whether you will be able to realize results or not. So that is why it's very important. There are many other things we look at, but for me, those are, if I don't see that, I will struggle.
The whole aspect into it.
At the end of the day, your career is in your hands. I always tell this to my team. And if you feel choked where you are, it doesn't necessarily mean that everywhere else is choked. So you need to look. If you're looking above and it's crashing, you probably need to look beside or outside. And I know this is not popular, but it's options. At the end of the day, your employer is not responsible for your career. It is you as an individual that has to own your career. And if you're interested in growing, then you have to take the intentional effort to grow. So I say, if you've stayed in a role for a lot longer than you wanted, then you need to jiggle yourself out of that comfort zone. And comfort zone is comfortable. And that we go back to the point I made earlier on taking risks. So until you're willing to remove yourself from the comfort zone, then unfortunately you will remain there.
Top tier managers, because even for them, they want to get ahead. In
Of
fact,
course.
they want to be on boards. They want to be on, those government appointments that would propel their career now even to another field. So, what's your advice to them as well?
It's really the same concept. So, positioning yourself in the right places. And really just continuing to consolidate your profile so that even as you position yourself, it's very clear what you're bringing. Sometimes people, when they're looking for jobs, they always look at what they will get from the job, not what they will bring to the job. And as you go up, the game changes. So it's no longer about the papers everybody has. It's about what is that unique additional value that you're bringing into the table. Why you? Why not the next guy? It becomes also more competitive because, of course, it's a pyramid, or rather it's triangle. The higher you go, then the positions are smaller. So are you willing to move maybe to some very uncomfortable positions? I took a risk to move to, I would say, a startup, but in a big corporate. An acquisition means that there's a lot of work to be done. But that also then gives you a great opportunity to build a profile, but to learn and to get a lot of things under your belt. Because when you move to rough places, then you can put a lot under your belt that will propel you to the next position. There are jobs that are very comfortable. At the end of your 4 years, what do you have to show that you did? So those are the things that we could consider in careers. But these are not many, but they are there.
When we get to such a point where we have to wrap up the show, it's always, you feel like, oh my goodness, no, we should actually have paused maybe and do another part 2 of this. You have everything going for yourself, your career, your family, your, personal life. I'm interested to know what keeps you awake at night.
Oh, I have a very good sleep.
Sure.
I don't wake up.
Yeah.
To be honest, I hear that question and I'm like, I just do what needs to be done and I sleep. I don't worry.
So what will be your final advice to this show if you're telling somebody to actually get ahead? And this is across women, men, youth.
I think, being open-minded, taking risks, and positioning yourself, make sure you're visible to be seen and heard.
Being open-minded, taking risks, make sure
you're visible.
You're
seen and heard.
Yes. Because some are just seen there and then they're like, okay, you don't want to speak out or say actually what you have in your missions as well.
Yeah.
And not forget about what you have for and what you look out for.
Yeah.
Passion and attitude. Those two. Normally, on Headhunter, we'd have 3. Is there any other quality that you'd add on to that?
Tell me the third one.
The third one, I'll say focus, because passion, attitude to get you there, and that drive and ambition to actually get to the top.
Usually, you would see that from the profile of the candidate. Somebody who has focus.
Previous.
Yes, you would have seen.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
especially if you're hiring
Yeah.
for more senior positions. There's
Yeah.
always a track record.
So let's stick to passion and attitude.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Madam Carol, for being here today.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure, and wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors. Cannot wait to see you now on a global stage.
Sure. Thank you. Great.
Thank you very much to our audience as well. Always great to actually even learn. I think you must admit, even as you just go along, there are insights that just come on board, and I hope that you also get to fill up your notebooks and get yourself on the Headhunters list. My name is Laban Cliff, and on behalf of everyone who has put blood, sweat, and tears to get this program to you, I want to say thank you very much. See you again, same time next week. If you missed the show, don't forget, get online. You find us. Goodbye.